Welcome to Mindful Matters. My name is Drew, and today I am joined by writer, producer, musician, Gerry Garcia.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thank you for joining me today, Gerry. How you doing?
I'm doing good, hanging in there.
Someone wants to say hi.
Hello, Skylar.
You know what Skylar thinks about inner conflict?
What's that?
It's rough.
It's rough.
We're here today to talk about some mindfulness, some serious, deep conversations. You and I, we were thinking about what we wanted to talk about, and this topic both spoke to us of inner conflict, and we're gonna get all into that. But first, before we do that, the name of this channel is Mindful Matters, and I want to ask you, in your opinion, why does mindfulness matter?
Ooh, deep. There's a multitude of reasons I could probably give. It's just, it's good to know what's going on outside of your head and as well as inside. Because I don't know, human brains are so complex. If we don't sit back and enjoy the silence every now and then, and enjoy just kind of that introspection, then that's when people start to go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that happens a lot more often than not. So it's good to kind of like brace yourself for some of these issues or inner conflicts that plague you, because if you don't deal with them, then they just manifest later in life, and then that's when you have issues. So yeah, no, that's my short answer for why I think it matters.
Yeah, no, I agree, and we're gonna dive more into it. And what I find interesting about this conversation is like now we're gonna really, I mean, you and I have spoken a lot, but this is all about our inner thoughts. We tell each other what we want to tell each other, just in general, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what we like, think to ourselves. That's like what we are really feeling. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a time for us to be honest and open and talk about that, because I know I have a lot of conversations with myself. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're
Mm-hmm.
not so good, and and I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So
Yeah.
I I guess first off, I want to ask you what would you say your relationship with your thoughts is like? How do you talk to yourself? How do you think to yourself?
Um. Well, I mean, let's just say if I don't know, I do have neighbors, especially below me. I'm sure they've heard me talk to myself quite a bit.
Do you talk out loud to yourself when you're
Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie. Like I do, and then sometimes I'll answer myself, and then I have to like look at myself in the mirror. I have this big mirror in my living room, and I just look at there, and I look at myself, and I'm just like, "What is wrong with you?" I literally think that sometimes. Like, what are we doing? Um, but no, I have to talk things out sometimes, and sometimes I feel like not to sound, I guess, like a me monster or self-centered or whatever the word is. I feel like sometimes the best person to talk things out with is yourself in a way, because it's just like being in a relationship, with another person. The people who know that relationship best are the people in that relationship. You can go to a couples counselor and they can give you their insight, but it's going to come from their lens, right? And ultimately, as like I'm just using like a comparison as a couple, and so we're not talking about
Mhm.
me the whole time. But it's the same point. Um, you two know the intricacies, the little cracks, the holes, everything that goes on. You guys know, and same with like you with your brain and with yourself. You understand it better than most. So that's why it's good to talk things out. You don't have to do it verbally like I do, because not everyone's crazy like I am. But um, it's good to just think about things like that. I think real conversations, have that conversation with yourself. If you're one of those that believe in a higher power, that can be a good thing too. And yeah, that's yeah. Just to answer it, I hope that does a trick for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and also, I mean, there's no right or wrong answers. This is literally like what like your thoughts are. I always tell people on these discussions, we're not therapists. We don't have the answers. You know,
Yeah.
we're not going to say like, oh, this is what you got to do. But this is like just what we feel. And these are things that we've gone through. And
Right.
we could talk about things that have helped us. But it,
Right.
when you said that, it kind of reminded me of like, when people say like, if you really want to retain information, um, instead of typing it, write it down with a pencil. Like,
Yeah.
like something about doing that. Um, you like kind of like it stays in your mind more and you're a little more focused on it, if that makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah. Builds that
it's
motor skill.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think talking to yourself is a big thing. And the more you talk to yourself, the more you kind of uh train yourself to like talk to your thoughts. And yeah, I think talking out loud could work for some people. I think that's totally
Mhm.
fine. I think talking in your head is fine. Sometimes you need to, sometimes it's like, sometimes so much is going through your head that you need to say it out
Mhm.
loud. So you're focusing at one thing at a time, because your head is just could just be spinning. But if you say,
Yeah.
okay, sometimes you need to say out loud, okay, let's slow down. What am I feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling this, and you just need
Mhm.
to say it and break it down. And for me, I don't know if you have like do you have like a spot where you do that? Cause I know for me, like long car rides are the times where I will literally talk out loud to myself and I'll be like, okay, like, let me check in. How am I doing? How am I feeling?
They can be good and they can be useful because you can have those kind of conversations, when you're trying to just process your day, you know. Um, my apartment, because I'm living solo here, but I've been at my, you understand what's going on with, my sister and everything. I've been there a lot, and there's not a lot of time for introspection sometimes when there's, three, four other people there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to have my own space where I can do that. Um, just sometimes, just anywhere I have a piano available, it's a good way for me to kind of search inward as well. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Definitely the music and how, uh,
yeah. So I figure I
like
wouldn't go too much into it because I figure it's down the road.
we should definitely get
Yeah.
into that. Cause you and I, oh, hi, Skylar. Yeah. You and I both relate in that sense.
Hello.
So, okay, let's say when you're in a conflict with yourself in your mind, like you're going through something and you're going through a tough time, what is your brain telling you? Like, what are the internal thoughts, the inner voice telling you? Like how do you what does that inner voice say during the conflicts?
It depends on the conflict, really. I mean, if it's something that I don't know, well, like what kind of like examples would you do? Like, would you envision? Like, I don't know, or situations, or
Yeah.
because I'm trying to formulate like a good enough answer. You know what I mean?
Let's say like you're having a conversation with someone and you accidentally say something that comes out wrong, and
Literally me every day.
Yeah, so maybe you'll know this.
Oh god, yeah. Where do I
And
start?
yeah, and like you say something to someone, and you don't mean any ill will, but maybe you say something, you're like, oh shoot, did I just hurt their feelings? Did I just say something wrong? And
Yeah,
then what is that inner voice telling you? Like, you know, are you telling yourself it's okay, you made a mistake, you just apologize? Or are you saying like why are you doing this, Jerry? Like, here you go again, messing up,
yeah,
like
yeah.
what do you tell yourself in those situations?
If I have an interaction with someone, there's a lot of times I'm just like, what was that? And not because of them, just because I was so awkward, and I was just like, oh good lord, what did I do? Like, all right, well they're not going to be my friend now. They probably think
Mm,
I'm some nut job, and so I've kind of gotten used to that. But also, like, I'm trying to, especially after COVID. COVID really just tanked my social skills, and I didn't really notice it until everything started opening back up again. We started going to events again, like Sundance. Once my brother and I started going to events again, I realized I was just like, I'm kind of awkward in the social setting. Like I was always very reserved to begin with. Like just naturally, I don't like a lot of crowds. I'm not a
yeah.
big crowd person. However, like if I'm there with like a specific purpose, like when we were doing um, when we were doing like the filming at the cons and everything, and there's a lot of people, right? But I
Mhm.
wasn't as nervous because I felt like we belonged there. I mean, we did. We
Mhm.
belonged there. We had a purpose, and there was just like maybe that hint of superiority, where it's just like, yeah, we're doing a movie, out of my way, peasant.
Yeah, I remember you did that to that poor kid, that
Oh,
4-year-old. That
the
was
child that broke
nah,
down crying and probably
I'm kidding, I'm
scarred for life. No, I'm just kidding.
kidding. Just joking.
I figured I'd play it up
Yeah.
because it is
I
something.
know.
It does sound like something. Remember, I work with kids, so like it's something I probably would do. I mean,
Yeah, you're a teacher for out there for those who
out in the world, out on the front lines.
is that something you don't mind putting out there?
What was it? Oh no, no, not at all.
Okay,
No,
okay, okay,
no, no. I'm an open
okay.
book, dude. Like, yeah, I've got nothing to hide really.
It was interesting you said like, okay, you say something wrong, you like, or you said that you like if you say something wrong in your mind, it's like, okay, now this person won't want to be my friend. Is that how like you like do you feel like there's a way to come back from that if you do say something wrong? Do you ever try to like kind of like, oh wait, sorry, I catch yourself in the moment, or is it like, oh, it's too late, I said that and
It depends. Like sometimes, like for example, like I remember there's been a few times where this has happened. You ever gone to a theater when the ticket person takes your stub and is like, enjoy your theater or enjoy your movie, and you're like, yeah, thanks, you too. Have you ever
yeah,
done that?
of course, yeah,
Yeah, no, it happens more often than I care to admit.
yeah,
But like there's sometimes where it's just like if I'm clever enough or witty enough or I'm thinking enough on the spot, I'll play it off. I'll just like literally acknowledge how awkward it was. I'll just be like, oh, I'm one of those, or I'll say something that just kind of like, you know, I mean, I'm not going to see these guys hardly at all, but it's
yeah,
just like
yeah,
at the same time, I'm just like they're thinking that was that was awkward, and so sometimes I'll play it off. Sometimes I'll just walk off and I'll just play it off like nothing happened. Most of the
yeah,
times that's what I do. I was like, all right, well we're ignoring that.
hmm
But with if it's like people I know, like for instance, like working at this school, I didn't really know anyone going in, and so there's a couple like interactions I had where I was just like, well, that was that was a little awkward, but then over time you see them again, and then once
hmm
you get to know people, then I try not to like. I hope people feel the same way about me. I try not to take them too much on first appearances because everyone's got their guard up, when you're first meeting someone. Um, I try to be a little more relaxed, but I feel like sometimes if I'm trying too hard to be relaxed, then I got more guards being put up that I don't even know. You know what I mean? So for me, just I don't know, just trying to take it day by day and just try to make each following interaction less awkward than the previous one.
yeah,
I feel like it's a day by day thing. I don't know. Some people you're gonna click with. Some people it's gonna take some time. Like you and I clicked real quick. When I first met Kayvon, he and I clicked really fast.
hmm
My co-writer Sam for Fumio's movie, he and I clicked right away, and I feel like it's just like when you get to a certain age, you understand. Well, not even that. Like kids make those friendships pretty early, and I think
hmm
it be some innate human thing where we understand if we click with someone, we're feeling the same energy, then boom, we're gonna be friends. There's some people you just have to get to know a little better, and it might take some time. Um,
yeah,
but then once you get to know them, it's just like, oh, they're as crazy as I am. They're just a little more reserved. So
yeah.
it just
No,
depends on the person too. Yeah,
no, for sure. It's different because it's like, yeah, with different interactions, sometimes you meet someone right away. Like, I mean, yeah, with us, we literally were thrown in an Airbnb together and making this movie. So like,
yeah,
like it's a good thing we got along pretty quickly. Um,
yeah,
but I've had other friends where like it's taken like months, sometimes even years to like, really develop um
yeah,
a friendship where and it might not even be like the deepest friendship, but just sometimes it just takes time and sometimes those friendships don't come and that's okay. sometimes you
Yeah.
talk to people and you're like, oh my god, that was so awkward. And you know what? That's just maybe like that's just sometimes that's just what it is. Because you can you know sometimes you could say all the right things, you could do all the right things, but then it's like sometimes you have those awkward interactions. I've had plenty, and I'm like, oh my god, I felt myself like cringing. I was like,
Yeah.
what am I
Your skin's like
saying?
tightening up, like your jaws are clenched. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah, and yeah, and then
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel like, oh, I have no social skills. But then
Yep.
you remember like, okay, like well, that's just one person, and then everybody's different. You can't just because you're not able to talk to everybody on the same level doesn't mean you're an awkward person or that you're not a good conversationalist.
Right, right. No,
So
no, 100%. No, there it's an example. There's a I can't remember the other player. So, for any of your listeners that follow soccer, Manchester City, there's a player, Carlos Tevez, and I can't remember who said this about him, but he said Carlos and I had a great relationship on and off the field. We spoke maybe twice, every game,
mm,
and that was it. It was just it was like it was the best friendship best friendship I had on the team. Our chemistry was good. We passed the ball to each other, and we hardly said a word to each other. But he's like, that was the best, teammate I ever had. And
oh
it's kind of
yeah,
funny. Sometimes there are friendships that are like that. Like there's, friends I have, um, go months without talking, or even a year or two, and then we pick back up, and it's, you know, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's sometimes those dynamics work, and then there's some friendships that where you know you both bond over being kind of chaotic, chatterboxes or whatever, and I think people try to pigeonhole themselves too much into like, well, which one am I? Am I a chatterbox? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? And I think it just depends on the people you're around. Like with the right people, you can be extroverted. With the wrong people, you're more introverted. Or it doesn't even have to be right or wrong. The right or wrong people. It's just different. You know, like
mm,
yeah.
yeah. In general, would you say you're someone who tends to be hard on themselves?
Oh, 100%. Like, and I think that's my biggest like toxic trait
Yeah,
is just being overly hard on myself. And yeah, are you? Or
yeah.
I think
But
it's the
but
hardest thing.
I think so too. And I mean,
Yeah.
like, listen, I mean, I always say the first step, like, the biggest thing is like actually like admitting like your weaknesses, or admitting things that you want to work on.
Yeah.
Um, and I definitely want to talk about this, yeah, because we both can relate as musicians, filmmakers. Yeah, we're both hard on ourselves, which um, I wouldn't say that's completely a weakness, because I know for me the reason why I'm hard on myself is because I want to do good. I want to
Right.
I want to succeed. I want to live a happy life. I want to thrive at whatever I'm doing. So that's why I'm hard on myself. But then, yeah, there comes to a point where it's like, okay, you can't be so hard on yourself where you're not giving yourself credit for anything that you do, and that like when you do something good, it's like, yeah, I did that, but it's not enough. And yeah, so that's something that, yeah, I've dealt with a lot. And why would you say do you know why you're generally hard on yourself? What's your thoughts on that?
And that's part of my journey right now, as I'm trying to figure out
Hmm.
all that shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me exactly. And I think I've kind of figured out, follow the breadcrumbs that is my, you know, crazy childhood, Um, but yeah, that's been a big part of the journey lately, is trying to figure out exactly and pinpoint why. Um, I as far back as I can remember, I've always, I think I just always inherently been that way. I don't know, and maybe you can blame upbringing on it. My parents were, like I said, they were martial artists, and so with that culture, being that Japanese culture, things are there are expectations. You know, there
Mhm.
are, you. It's that I'm trying to like Yeah, it's hard to really articulate. I would say, you know, a lot of like Japanese culture, for example, especially like with karate, you know, it's originally, like, let's take kumite for example. Originally, to win a kumite match, it was originally ippon, which was 1 point,
Mm.
and it's that mindset of perfection. I think that kind of translates into karate, and then therefore into like personal lives. And so when you're trying to do things perfectly and then it doesn't work out, you're just like, oh gosh, I just brought dishonor, you know, to, you know, myself and, you know, everyone else. And you know, I think that that could be part of it too. And then like growing up doing, you know, different extracurriculars, you know, we're doing team sports, you know, when you screw up, you know, you're gonna hear it. And so my thing is just like I don't like letting people down, and so
Mm.
when I screw up, I'm like extra hard about it because it's just like I want to, you know, I care, I want to show I care, but also, again, and this is according to the wise world of Instagram or Meta. There's like I saw it on my feed one time. There's this Japanese proverb. I don't know if it's really Japanese or where it comes from, but it is actually pretty interesting. It says like, be careful of speaking negatively about yourself because the warrior inside you doesn't know the difference between negative words and, you know, affirmations or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because I'm like, I like to try to give my subconscious more credit, but at the same time, you never know. Like it's, you know, it could be doing some damage, and that could be why I'm still hard on myself because I've done that for my whole life. You know, I'm just like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, you piece of shit, really? Like, you know, like I'd say
Mm.
stuff like that, and not meaning to. You know, I'm joking half the time. I'm pretty self-deprecating, as you've seen, but like I'm trying to be a little more conscious of that because, you know, of that saying. You know, the person inside you may not know the difference, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. But, you know, I'm still trying to figure all that out. You know, long
Yeah.
answer. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, even when I hear you say things like, I don't know if you're joking or not. Like, I know you have a sense of humor, but like when you say like negative things about yourself, I'm like, no, like, bro, no, don't say that because like maybe you're joking a little bit, but maybe there's some truth to it.
That's why I joke because I'm like, with every joke, I feel like, I don't know, this might be controversial, but every joke that has a little truth behind it. This is why, like, I love comedians because it's just like, you know, you'll ask a comedian, "Oh, why are you so wise?" And they'll say, "I'm not. I literally read like Instagram. I don't read. You know, I watch a documentary, so I go to parties, drop a few facts, and then hey, it looks like I read. You know,
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
that's why I love them because, you know, they do make you think. You know, and, yeah, like I feel like a lot of those jokes do stem from some sort of truth in a way. Not all the time, obviously. There's, you know, there's extreme examples that, you know, don't fit into that, but um, I just think because I deep down I know it might kind of be true, you know, if I
Hmm.
but also at the same time, you know, I've tried to realize, you know, there's progress, you know, and that's why I decided to take up, you know, piano again. You know, I started uh, training a little more for, you know, like doing some soccer stuff just to kind of show myself, hey, there is progress. You know, you don't have to plateau, or you don't have to fall into the mindset that you are plateauing. I think a lot of people do. You know, they'll start learning something and they feel like they just, you know, they even out a bit. And then
Hmm.
that's when that self deprecation comes and like, oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm not going to, you know, I'm just not going to get anywhere. But then I like videos like practice videos, for example, because then I can visually show myself, hey, 2 months ago you were playing this piece, you could barely get through half the song. Now you can play it a lot faster, accurately, comfortably, no problem. So
Yeah.
it's good to see progress, and I think people need to really look and focus more on that.
Hmm.
So, which I'm just repeating words that people told me my whole life. You know, like for soccer, for example, if I miss a shot, I feel bad, and sometimes I don't want to take another one. I'd rather just pass it off, you know, and have someone else. I mean, you play basketball, so you know exactly what, you know. Yeah, so sports
Hmm.
terms, yeah, there you go for any sports people that are, you know, going to be listening. Um, you know, it's a game of numbers. You know, whatever sport you do, I can't think of any other sport that defies that, or yeah, or defies that. I guess thinking because you miss, as I say, you miss 100% of the chances you don't take. So
Hmm.
you got to you got to shoot your shot, and when you miss, just like, all right, well, that didn't work. Let's try again. And I've been
Hmm.
trying to be a lot more aware of that.
And I don't know. I definitely meet these people playing basketball. I don't know if you've met these people doing sports like soccer. Do you ever meet people who, like, realistically they're not that good, but they keep shooting, they keep trying, they keep you know they're off, but they keep going, and they don't let it get to them. Do you meet people like that?
Oh yeah, all the time, and it's just like those people annoy me. But also I'm low key jealous because they do have
Yeah,
that resilience. It's just like
they're having
they're like a
fun.
stubborn dog. They're like a stubborn dog that doesn't understand no. Or just they're like a honey badger in a way. The honey badger don't give a shit. It's just like it has no fear. It'll take on an elephant. It'll take on a group of wild dogs, hyenas, whatever. It just doesn't care. And I think deep down, part of me envies that because
Yeah.
it's just like I wish I didn't have that self awareness to where it's just like if I screw up, it's just like okay, I have limitations. Let's take a step back. These people don't understand that concept at all,
Yeah.
and it's like both. Yeah, it's about the blessing and a curse. I feel like sometimes because then
Yeah.
they start believing their own legend. They start falling into these delusions of self grandeurs or whatever, and then it's just then they start going around and they're like, oh yeah, I'm the shit, and it's just like, oh my god, no, you really don't think so, do you? It's just like be humble.
Yeah.
Sit down, be humble.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. There's a
Yeah,
balance for sure. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's funny that you mentioned sports. Like, I mean, listen, I'm hard on myself. Probably, like, I don't know, once a day at least. I don't know, just
Oh,
with with
easily.
with, with something. Um, but I think the biggest example for me, or not, definitely not the biggest example of my life, but the biggest thing that happened to me recently was literally 2 days ago. I had a basketball game. It
Oh
was
yeah.
yeah, it was my first game in this new league, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the last season that I played, which literally ended a week ago. So, like, basically you're going from, like, right into the next league a week later. So
Jeez. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
yeah, but our team got second place.
Okay.
And I was playing, like, really freaking good, and I felt good, and my
Just
team was
balling out.
I was balling out. My team was
Hell
hyping
yeah.
me up. I felt good. I was like, bro,
It's a good feeling. Yeah.
I'm gonna get into the NBA now. No, I'm kidding. But, like,
No,
no,
that's what I love though. Like you feel that good and you feel like you can do anything. Yeah.
exactly. And it's an adult league where, like, people are just playing for fun, but it's still it's fun to do good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like to do good at things, you know, and I'm trying to work on, if I'm not good at something, it's okay. And
Yeah.
I say I'm trying to work on that because this past Wednesday we had our first game, and it was a bunch of new players because it was a new league. But I had a few teammates from my team last season who were on this new team, and they knew what I'm capable of. I was doing pretty well on
Your
the team
reputation
before.
preceded you.
Yeah, so I was like,
No,
okay,
you
like,
can ball out though. I remember when we played basketball. I was just like, oh, okay.
thanks,
Like
friend.
this guy can actually ball. All right.
I will pay you after the stream your $5 for saying that. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I just wanted to work that in there somewhere.
I know. I wanted you to wait till the hour mark, but it's okay.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I had to drop it because
I
I wanted to remind you.
okay. Just remind me after the stream. But no, I love basketball so much, and yeah, just with anything, I want to do good, and you know, going into the game, I always get so excited. I feel so good, and
Yeah.
especially, like, when, like, coming off of a the last game where I felt like I played really well, I was so excited for this, and I'm like, this is gonna be so much fun. Um, and yeah, um, I did really bad, and
Ah,
like,
yes. Yeah.
yeah, and it was one of those things where, like, it was so bad that, like, last week we played 2 games back to back, and I wasn't tired, right?
Uh huh. Yeah.
And this time I was like tired in the first few minutes. It was just
Oh
like
man.
I was just, because also when you're off, when you're not playing good, sometimes you just like it. I try to tell myself, okay, even if you're missing your shots, even if you're not doing great, you could still hustle, you could still play hard. I felt like
Yeah.
everything about my performance was awful. I wasn't
Ugh.
hustling. I was tired easily. And this is also a team that I'm meeting for the first time, and I'm like, their first impression of me is that I am awful. And
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be that guy. Like I've never been one to be like, like guys, like, I swear I'm good. Like this was just an off game for me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. But like, in my head, I'm thinking like, guys, like I'm not that good, but I'm really not that bad. I promise you.
Yeah.
Because I like airballed a mid-range shot, so like just like a shot that like I don't know, like I might have airballed like two shots just like really badly, and it was like, guys, I promise, I'm not saying I'm great, but I'm not that bad, and now they probably think I'm horrible, and after the game, I just like was so hard on myself
Yeah.
because I don't like to do bad. And then, these people on my team who, I mean, like, listen, are they at home thinking, wow, Drew really did a bad job? No, like they don't,
Right. Exactly.
they don't care. And
But you
that's
think that in the moment, yeah.
in the moment, I'm like, they probably hate me. But meanwhile, our team as a whole, we were all kind of off. No one was really doing well. So, but because it was
Yeah.
me doing off, I felt it. And I feel that
Sure. Yeah.
every time. And it's just like, I just, it sucks because like, if you heard the things that I was saying to myself, just like, it's so unnecessary and
Yeah.
it's so mean. It's so bad, you know? And also, that's something I want to talk about. Sorry, I know I've been kind of rambling for a bit.
No. 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 You're good. No. 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 This is interesting. I like this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And it kind of leads into something that I know I resonate with, and I'm curious what you think about this. Like, I find it easy to say, Drew, you sucked. You just had an awful game. You're so bad. Your teammates probably think you're crap.
Yeah.
Like that was awful. And it wasn't even like you just had a bad game. You played like really, really, really freaking
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable. Um, and I would, if you were to tell me, if we played basketball together, and you were to tell me that stuff, I would never like be like, yeah, Gerry, you really did. No, I would try and lift you up and be like, dude, don't say that about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate when other people tear themselves down, but then for me, it's easier to say it about myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that was a quote. You ever watch Prison Break?
No. 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 I haven't. Yeah.
Okay, there's the main actor. He's had this quote, um, outside the show, just one that stood out with me. He said, "If I talked to other people the way that I talk to myself, I would have no friends."
That's yeah. I like that.
You know?
That's so true. No, it's so true. I barely have friends as it is. And it's it's because yeah.
No,
Oh my god. Yeah. No,
that's
too
okay. That's
real.
okay.
It's
My
too real.
my circle is very, very small. My circle is very,
That's
very
not a
small.
bad
So
thing. I think it's a good thing personally.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. No,
Just
it's fun.
less BS. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and
like yeah. Go ahead.
no, please, please.
No, I was just gonna go off to your point. When like, and that's something I've kind of struggled with like over my like career as a soccer player too is like when people would try to build me up, I just for me it sometimes made it worse.
Mhm.
Because I'm just like, you're telling me shit that you think that I want to hear right now. And sometimes I wish there's still that wish, that deep desire in me that wish someone would just say, hey, piece of shit, get your head in the game. Like
Mhm.
just, do better. And sometimes I wish like, and sometimes there have been coaches, like, especially in Europe, like in Europe, they would do that all the time. I mean, not like that, but like they would, it's like, hey, wake up, like they do in Spanish, obviously, or,
Yeah.
and because that's where I played mostly was Spain. and it's just a different mindset there. And so when I was there, like a lot of that would carry over. I'd feel hard on myself. But even some of the kids were just like the way they went about it. They weren't trying to coddle me, but they were just like, hey, you got to focus, keep a strong mind, because we're counting on you. It's just like if you check yourself out of a game, it's you gotta have that mental toughness, and they in Spanish it sounded a lot better, but they're like a must fuerza. I don't know, my Spanish is so bad, dude. Like, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like it was kind of nice to have that sort of camaraderie, and then I feel like it definitely helped. But then, like, not being around that similar mindset when you come back to the United States, you kind of start losing that, and then
Mm.
you start letting those intrusive thoughts get the best of you. It's just like, oh, I guess I suck. I just came back here. I was doing really well overseas in Europe. I felt like I was a really good player, and then I come here, and it's just like I feel like I'm not matching the level, or they're not matching what I've just come from. And then so those thoughts, it's just you start getting in your own head, and then like I said, those thoughts when you mess up start to come back, and but it's yeah, like I don't know, I forget exactly where I was going with that, but I feel like at least mentioning, it's sometimes yeah, it depends on the person, but like when I'm in a game and someone's getting down, like I try to say, hey, just like keep. I try to tell them, keep your head up. I don't yell at them, but I also say, hey, we still need you. Again, get focused. You know, don't quit on us. You still got to be like gentle but tough. I feel like, in a way,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Cause like, yeah, sometimes people will, and look, I'm guilty of this, like, if someone's not doing good at something, I'll be like, no, you're doing a great job. Like, but it's like, sometimes people don't need to hear that. Sometimes people know,
yeah,
like,
they need the
I,
truth.
they need the truth, or sometimes it's like, even, I mean, you don't have to say, well, dude, you really suck right now.
Yeah, right, right.
But but like but just like you said, you weren't saying anything like that's gonna make anybody feel bad. You weren't saying like, dude, you're really bad. You're like, no, you said like, it's okay, man. Keep your head up, like stay focused, and keep shooting, keep give it your all. Like that's what you
Yeah,
gotta do. And I think someone during the game on my team actually told me that, like, it's okay, just keep shooting, like, and that's kind of, I needed that, like, you know it's kind of like an encouragement. It wasn't like,
yeah,
Drew, you're doing great just the way you are. Like, I know I wasn't,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
No, I can't stand that mentality. Honestly, like I and that's where a lot of I've noticed, like in youth coaches. I imagine basketball is really no different. You get that coach that was just like, all right, stop shooting. You're terrible, kind of thing. Obviously, they wouldn't say that exactly, but it's just like the whole point is to get them to take those shots. To make those breaks toward goal or toward the other person's hoop.
Yeah.
And when you stifle that, it does so much damage to a player that they don't even realize until years later. I think a lot of that I've ended up realizing as I become older, because there have been some coaches I've had, I try to make a drive towards goal and they're like, no, stop doing that. You need to, pull out to the side or something. But it's just like when the opportunity's there, you got to let your players, you got to let them grow. You have to let them make mistakes, because that's the
Hmm.
only way kids are going to learn, and they have to learn how to lose too. And that's the thing, when you come from a mindset, it's just like, oh, you want to win, all you want to do is winning's great. It's not everything, but when you're in some like sports, it is a result business. Wins do matter, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it's just like if you lose but you realize you busted your ass, the other team's just straight up better, that's, you can at least walk off the field or the court, whatever, knowing, all right, well, my best wasn't good enough, so I need to step it up, or
Yeah.
just understand, like this team is just that much better. But the the ego toxic masculinity side of me is just like, nope, I'm gonna kick their ass next time. It's just like I don't want to be second place. Like I don't want to be a loser compared to these people. So, um, but that can also be devastating too, because then like you focus so much on the wrong thing that you miss out on other things. Like I always like to tell people, prove your believers right instead of focusing on your haters. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because for me, it's a much better, much more positive sort of motivation, if you will, because the people that actually care about you and believe in you, whether they believe in you blindly, like parents are, they always think their kids, number one. But it's just like it's nice to like have them in the back of your mind when you're doing something, because then it matters more. If you're doing it to prove someone wrong, then it's just like, and you don't get the response you're hoping for, like then what? Where do you go from there? You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of these athletes and a lot of people, or just like not even athletes, just anyone in general who becomes successful, they have this grudge and they hold on to it. And while it might be powerful, maybe they do accomplish what they want, but they don't feel any fulfillment from it. And I think
Mhm.
the best way to feel fulfillment from something is when you have the right motivation and behind you or in front of you or whatever. And I think a lot of that most of that comes from within. Validation outside is great, but if you're, I think one of your questions later too that I read through was like, uh, could you be in a relationship with yourself? And that can translate to many different aspects, like like sports, for example. Would you be your own teammate? If I had the duplicate as a teammate, we'd probably be fighting all the time. you know just
Really?
just because of that
Wow.
constant like toxicity and negativity, for that reason. But like once I let go of that and I decide to focus on something, I do thrive pretty well, as long as I can try to stay focused and try to keep that negativity out. And that's the biggest killer, is that negative mindset. And so that's the big thing I've been trying to work on. And I've noticed it now, like when I play. Right now I'm taking a season off just to let my body kind of heal up, but I'm doing like some serious like technical training, the stamina training and whatnot. And I'm seeing like results. I'm starting to feel like myself as a player again, like I used to back in the day. And now I feel like I'm a lot better than I ever have been. Same with playing piano. I decided to focus on this competition, and I'm playing a piece that I never thought in a million years I'd be able to play.
Mm.
And it's just because I've tried to focus each day. I'm doing better. There is progress. Now, that's not to say that there aren't relapses, because like just a few days ago, I was practicing at my parents' house, and I literally like I crashed out, working on this passage. I kept screwing it up. I slowed it down and kept messing it up. And then finally I was just like, I bang on the piano. My mom
Mm.
hates it when I do that. And she's
Mm.
like, I even like, I don't know if you can see it, but I actually ended up
Oh
hitting
my
the piano.
god.
I don't know if you can see it. It's been a few days, so the bruise is probably gone, but I went like that.
Yeah.
You'd ask any pianist, we seem to have this sick like thought that we're gonna somehow defeat a piano in a fight. You know, you've
Yeah.
you've seen grand pianos, even uprights. They're heavy. Like you smack your head on it, it hurts. So
Yeah.
like it's just I got really upset, and so it sometimes comes out, and that's the thing I'm trying to work on. But then I let a day go by, because it's just like I stopped practicing. I'm like, no, I'm done before this gets out of hand, because it's just like sometimes I'll get really upset, and it's just because like I want to do it right, but I'm so tired of messing up and letting myself down, because I feel like then I'm letting other people down if I can't seem to get something right. And it's the most minuscule thing, but it's just sometimes how my brain works. And so I took a step back for about a day, just let the dust settle, and then I had my lesson with my teacher, and then it was totally fine. Like I just didn't think too hard about it. I was just, a part of the song was coming up. I'm like, oh well, we'll see how it goes, and it was totally fine, no issues. It's just like sometimes you gotta take a step back, let the dust settle, but also understand that there is progress, and you got to focus on that. So long answer, long. So
No,
yeah,
that no, but I appreciate you for being honest about that. And I mean, like, that's like such an easy thing. Like, when you get frustrated to like take it out physically, especially on an object. I mean,
yeah.
like there have been times where I've thrown things and broken things. That was when I was younger.
I was about to
Uh,
say, like you, Drew, 2024, Drew. I don't, or 25, Drew. I don't know. I
no, no,
can't
no,
see
no,
you
no, no.
throwing anything.
I no, I've worked. That's something I've worked on. But
Good, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, I'll throw a water bottle across the I don't know. But I'm curious, like right after that, you slam the piano, and then
Yeah.
you said you stopped playing. What did you do like right after? And what were you thinking? How are you feeling? And were you able to calm yourself down and distract yourself, or were you still overwhelmed by it?
Well, so get right after, obviously, I was still pretty hot, and my mom was trying to like encourage me. I'm just ignoring her because like I'm in a mood. If I say something, you'll come across as snarky, or I'll just sound pissy, and I
Mm,
don't want to like, open that up. So I just went into my room downstairs, and I've been getting back into reading more. So I just kind of you know dived into. I'm reading a Napoleon Hill book, How to Outwit the Devil, which talks exactly about that. And so
mm,
it's a really good book. I just finished reading 1984 for the third time, which going from that to like a self help book, it's quite a dynamic. But um, yeah, I think like reading's good because it allows you to kind of escape into a different mindset or a different world, you know. And I just as much as I love social media, like I go on there pretty much for the funny reels at this point, you know, because it can get you down too if you do it too much because there's so much comparison, that you
mhm,
start to do with when you see people's posts, and you gotta understand it's just like people's online life is not exactly it's not an exact replica of their real life,
mhm.
and that's where I think some people, myself especially, have fallen prey to that. And so like what I just have to go downstairs. I need a minute, I need to like just be quiet. I just need a moment to myself because if I got too much stimulation, for me personally, it riles me up more. So it's just like I need to go kind of I have to retreat. I have to retreat and decompress. That's what I'm trying to say. I have to retreat to like somewhere that's like my little hobbit hole or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of my process. I you know, just have to chill out. I'm like like kind of like a regular dad. If I was a dad, I would hope that my wife understands that if I'm pissed off, just like just send him out in the yard with a beer, he'll be fine. Like let's just let him walk it off. Like let him take it, and that's the thing. That's how I am. It's just like, I need to walk it off, maybe
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
and realize, okay, that was kind of shitty, you know.
Mhm.
And so like I'm the type of person. I literally went up to the piano later that night, and I'm like, sorry. I literally apologized to the piano because I went downstairs and I realized after like I felt a little like I felt like I started like once the adrenaline wore off, I looked at my hand, I was like, ow, that really hurt.
I wonder how the
Like,
piano feels.
yeah, yeah, no, because like I looked at my hand, I was just like, God, you dummy. It's just like if you hit that harder, you might break your hand. Like literally, like pianos are tough. And so I'm just like, okay, that was stupid. Let's not do that again. I went up to the piano, I'm like, I'm sorry. I freaking anthropomorphized my piano and made like it had feelings. And I'm just like, oh, what am I doing? But it's just like I'm like
Dude,
I have to make amends. I feel like that's part of the healing process. Even if it's an inanimate object, you still
yeah.
have to like make amends and try not to. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little humiliating, but also if I keep subjecting myself to that humiliation, then I'm less likely to do it again because it's just like
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to return. I'm gonna have to apologize again to the piano, and that's just so ridiculous that I don't think I want to keep doing that. So and plus, like I don't know, like it stresses my parents out too because they're getting old, and I just don't want to like, I don't want to like stress them out more than they are already. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So like, I have to take a minute and then yeah, just come back to something.
yeah, I mean, as funny as that sounds, like that you went and apologized to the piano, I feel like that does something because it's
It's
like, yeah,
ridiculous.
no, because it really like, okay, I did something, and like, even though it wasn't to another person, it was something that, like with myself that I didn't approve of.
Yeah,
And by apologizing to the piano, it's this
yeah.
extreme action that like it just makes
This
you
Hail
so aware
Mary
of it. Yeah. And
attempt.
it's like, yeah. And then it's like, you're like, most likely, like, dude, like when you play piano, you're probably not going to do that again because, I mean, you apologize to the piano and you like,
And
you
I
just,
had a little mark to remember it too, a little some pain to go with it.
yeah, literally. So, like, okay, so let's say in the future, maybe tomorrow, you're playing piano and you're playing that piece and it's not going good. You're just struggling.
Yeah.
You're just having an off day. What can you tell yourself? What will you talk? What will you say? And how do you control those emotions so that piano doesn't get another punch? How would you
Yeah, and no, I have those every time I practice. I have those moments.
that you want to punch the
And that
piano?
no, that I'm just for no. Well, I mean, if I stop it soon enough, then it doesn't turn into that,
Mm,
because I'm having a frustrated moment. It's just like, I'm not getting this passage. But that was just one of those examples of like a relapse, I guess, because my process is just like I try to remember, hey, 2 months ago you couldn't play this, you
yeah.
know. Remember now you can play this, so chill out. Stop being a victim. Stop with the pity party. You know, the world cares if you get it right. They're not going to be looking and saying, "Oh, you got it wrong," unless it's like a live performance, obviously. But it's just like no one cares when you're practicing.
Hmm.
No one's. I mean, if they're the only person that should be critiquing your practice is your teacher and you, obviously. And then like if you ask someone, for help, but otherwise, just like, if they're critiquing it, it's just like, cool, I don't care. I'm seeing progress. Um, so I just sometimes I have to take a little break when that happens. I'll just get up, walk around, shake my hands out, because a lot of it I notice too once I do that is fatigue. I'll be at it for a couple few hours at a time, and so
Hmm.
I'll notice just like, oh, my forearms are a little sore. Maybe I need to relax a little more because I shouldn't be causing myself strain or pain while I'm practicing. And so I realized, all right, well, that's probably why I'm not getting it right. There's all this tension. I need to relax a little more. And so, I'll go, I'll take a minute, go to the bathroom if I need to, or, get a drink, you know, um, non-alcoholic, I promise. Because I have tried playing and practicing on piano, and I'm like, it's not my thing.
Hmm.
Like I can't do it. I can't focus enough. It's just like I'm all over the place. I'm stumbling, and it's just like, nah, I can't do
Yeah.
it. That's if I'm drinking a lot. Like I can have like a glass of wine or maybe a beer while I practice, and I'll be totally fine because it's not very strong. But just you know, it's just good to kind of like distract yourself a little bit. And what I like about like something like wine, it takes the edge off a little bit. But again, you got to be careful doing that because you don't want it to, you know, turn into this thing where that you become dependent on. So, um, so yeah, I just I have to take a step back, and sometimes you need to. And then what I have to do is I have to slow it down because obviously that speed that I'm practicing at is too fast. So I have to bring it back a little bit, and I practice with the metronome, so that way it's just easily adjusted. So yeah, that's kind of my process. But every now and then, it comes out where it's just like I gotta hit a piano, and then every now and then it's got to remind me, hey, fighting with a 800-pound instrument is not gonna end well.
Yeah. Well, there's different outlets that we could use to get out our frustration. Like, I mean, you do
Right,
martial arts, so
right.
you have a punching bag or something.
We used to. We need to hang it up again, but I haven't been using that
Yeah,
in
that
quite a
could be a
while.
good replacement for the piano.
No, no, literally. Like, if my ideal house, I would have a punching bag somewhere that's accessible, or just something in every room that I can hit that I'm not going to catch or cause damage, but also, I can get that.
Have you ever experienced like a situation where you were so hard on yourself, like in front of people, that maybe you felt like you were being too hard on yourself, where they didn't want to, they felt like maybe they were distancing themselves from you, or vice
Yeah,
versa, where someone else was expressing feelings of just constantly, I'm this, and they're being so hard on themselves that it's too much to the point where it didn't make you, like, it didn't make you want to really be in that
Yeah.
atmosphere. Like either one of those, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I've been on both sides of them. That's the thing, like for example, my old soccer team. There's some times when it only happened a couple times though, but with me, there's a couple times where it's just like I wasn't feeling it, and then like something would be said or something would be done during practice, and then I was just like, you know what, I'm done, I'm out, and I
Mm.
would and I've left practice because of that, and I wouldn't say that's a good thing, to be honest, like because you know yeah. I don't want to say it's like a terrible thing, but also it's just like people have their reasons. I had my reasons, but I also, in retrospect, looking back, I'm like, I could have handled that better.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Um, because shutting down is just sometimes I do that. Like I'll shut down, and it's not really a good thing. Um, and so I have seen it, and I've tried to be more aware of that. When someone pays you a compliment, accept it. Accept the gracious. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're being egotistical. It doesn't mean you know, you're. It doesn't mean, yeah. If someone pays you a compliment and you accept it, it's, yeah. Like you can accept it and be totally fine. Uh, Me, I've just like deflected those compliments, and I've seen people just look like, okay, I guess we're gonna move on now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like, but and at the same time, I've been on the other side of it where I've complimented someone, and then they just go like, oh yeah, but that's just really not good enough. It should be a lot better what I'm doing or whatever. Or they just try to like be too analytical, and I'm just like,
Bro, just take the
okay,
compliment.
exactly, no, just take the freaking compliment.
Yeah.
And
And
so
then
then I'm
but
looking,
then
I'm
you
just
do
like,
that sometimes too.
exactly. Now
Yeah, yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
I'm
That
like, am I
yeah.
really that annoying? Like, literally, what's
Yeah.
going on? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like when someone does that, I'm like, huh, that was kind of annoying.
Yeah, and
Like, so
you're not trying to be. You're not like trying to, I think look, there are some times people out there, they do like to get that like validation, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
sometimes like genuinely if you don't feel like you're good enough at something and someone's telling you you're good, it's like, it's hard to say like thank you, I appreciate it. It's like, like if you don't feel that, sometimes you just want to say like, oh, like, but I know I could. I think that's like, that kind of goes back to like, like why we're hard on ourselves, because we want to succeed and we want to
right,
do good. But yeah, like I think it's I always say that like it's so easy to like, to control your own emotions and thoughts is a difficult thing, because your mind will
yeah,
just think whatever. Your mind
yeah,
just thinks
yeah,
things. But the words that come out of your mouth, you can control. So when
right,
someone
right,
does give you a compliment, even if you feel like, no, I'm really not that good, or I could do better, just like work on just thank you so much. I appreciate that,
yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah, you have to kind of talk to yourself and convince yourself, because there's really no good that comes out of like, especially when it's like, I mean, look, it's one thing if like Jerry, if it's one thing if like you and I are having a conversation, we're playing a sport, and like you're doing good. I'm like, no, man, like, and I'm giving you my honest thoughts, and we're having an honest conversation. But like,
yeah,
if you're playing like on a team with people you don't really know too well, or if you're in a big group, like, you don't, it's like, yeah, you don't really need to get into that if like
yeah,
if necessary. Yeah.
yeah. No, 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 totally. And I can see how it's a conversation killer too. I think obviously practical constructive criticism is obviously good, and it's always welcomed. But like sometimes I feel like people are saying things just because they think I want to hear it, and that's what can be hard for me, is trying to discern whether they're being genuine or they're just placating, you know. And
No.
I don't, and that's the thing. That's what's been quite a struggle. But I think once you get older and when you work at something, you start to realize, and that's where that self validation aspect comes in. You know, yeah, I did work. Like I did work hard for this. And like I'm not gonna gloat about it. But if someone gives me a compliment and notices, then when deep down you've worked for it, it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna accept it. You know, like I have done a good job, but at the same time, it's fun to kind of just like, no, I'm not. I'm really not. Stop it. Sometimes it's fun to do that. It's I don't know. There's still
I
that side, like I said. Yeah.
you know what, and that's human. That's human. Like,
Yeah.
look, when I was yeah, like, I mean, there will be times where, like, like, people will say, like, nice things about me, and I feel, like, weird. I'm like, "No, no, no, no," but then it's like, "But yeah, that makes me feel good," and it's like, "Yeah,
Right.
I do wanna hear that," but then it's like this weird combination, and I guess because you were also mentioning, well, I mean, I guess we've been talking about, like, learning to take a compliment, and, like, why do you think, like people have, like, such trouble with that? Like, why do you think it's hard for you to, like, allow yourself to feel the love, joy, success? Like, why is it hard for you sometimes to feel those good emotions and to let yourself, like, receive a compliment, or just in general, let yourself feel good?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because I was actually going to ask you this question just a second ago when we were talking about that last thing. Like, do you feel like sometimes compliments are undeserved? Do you feel like you don't deserve those compliments? And I feel like sometimes that's me in a way. Like, I feel like when someone compliments me, I'm just like, thank you, but like, just like I'm not there yet. You
Mhm.
know, I
Yeah.
appreciate it, but it's just like I know you're trying to make me feel good, but like I'm not there yet. Like compliment me when I've achieved this, and that's not necessarily. I mean, it can be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing because I feel like it helps keep you grounded in a way. It lets you know that hey, you're still a human. You're just a man, or a woman, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I also wonder how much of it is maybe some sort of evolutionary trait. I don't know if I'm sure it's been studied. I'm sure it's been, or at least discussed or talked about or theorized. Um, just like our need to kind of keep ourselves down a little bit, just so we don't let our guard down. That way, we're a little bit more protected, if that makes sense. Because like I think a lot of times people feel, at least like in relationships, for example, we can use that analogy. Why are we afraid of hopping right into a relationship? And there's a multitude of reasons, but I think a lot of the times what people have in common is they're too afraid because they don't want to open themselves up and be vulnerable. Because
Mhm.
then once that's thrown back, then it's just like it's this crushing just blow to your ego, just to your self esteem, to everything, and that's and sometimes the higher you are, the harder you fall. And I think that's for me that's kind of what plays into it because once you reach this level where everyone's just like everyone loves you, everyone expects this thing from you. Now it's just like you have these you have these expectations, you know and they're just getting higher and higher, and then once something happens, you know it's just the crumble from there. Like it's like the walls of Jericho. They just come tumbling down, and then it's just everything. It's just yeah, it changes everything, and it can be really crushing, like I said. And that's where I feel like maybe it could be an evolutionary thing, or maybe it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just how humans are designed by nature. I don't know. Like for me, there's times where I'm like, yeah, I'll feel deserved sometimes. Um, so I feel like I might not have worked hard enough for it. You know, I
Mhm.
don't know. And where that comes from, that's still the jury's still out on that. So like where that stems from in my life, I don't. I've probably theorized a little bit, in passing thoughts, but you know, there's probably a multitude of reasons that I could be feeling that, and just anyone in general. So
Yeah, for sure. I know
yeah.
for me, like, um, yeah, I've experienced, like, feelings of, like, just growing up, like, you know, letting myself get really happy and just enjoying what is, and, you know, at the time I thought that was a good thing. I'm feeling happy, I'm
Mm-hmm.
enjoying everything, but then you know,
Reality kicks you in the ass.
pretty much. And then and then it's like, whoa, like, okay, how do I prevent this feeling again? I don't want to feel like that again.
Yeah.
I don't want to. So, I mean, for example, I mean, we're talking about friendships and our inner circle. And, I've always struggled with um, having those like deep relationships and friendships. And, I had a great friendship growing up, and then, that faded away a bit. And then,
Yeah.
I met somebody else who, um, I felt like, wow, like this is someone who I was reaching out to them, they were reaching out to me, we were both confiding in each other. It was like, this is like a true friendship that I've like always been searching for. And I was like, wow, like it feels so nice to have this. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know, this is what I needed. And I felt myself like, even though we weren't talking 24/7, it was such a nice um it was something in my life that I was missing that really
Right.
completed me. And
Right.
yeah, and then shortly after, that person just disconnected. Nothing happened, but I would reach out and I'm like, "Hey, like, do you want to get together? You want to catch up, or how are you?" And then, just, I'm busy, I can't. And, it got to the point where it was like I felt like I was begging for their attention.
Yeah.
I wasn't begging, but like it felt like I didn't feel like, at one point in the relationship it felt like we were both reaching out to each other, and that was like the greatest feeling. And, and that same thing happened with my first deep friendship, where it felt like I was, towards the later ends of it, the reason
Yeah.
why it came to an end was because they just weren't they just had moved on, and
They outgrew it.
found outgrew the friendship, found someone
Yeah.
else. And, you know, the fact that that's happened twice to me, you know, like, was very difficult. And it makes it hard to, in the future, when I meet people, I don't like, sometimes it's hard for me to be like, wow, like this is such a great person. They're asking me how I
Yeah.
am. This is going to be a best friend. I have to keep
Yeah.
my guard up, It's like,
Yeah.
because I've been in situations where I really felt so safe and secure, and I thought, wow, this is really nice, and, you know, this is great. And, it's hard, especially, like, look, relationships, things happen.
Mhm.
Sometimes they just don't work out, but it's hard with a
Yeah.
friendship when it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I just outgrew you.
Yeah.
I just that's really hard. So yeah, that, like, for me, you know, I find it hard when I meet people to, you know, I allow myself to, I'm myself, and I'm open to being friends, but it takes me time to
Yeah.
really, it's hard for me to feel like, okay, like, this might not last for some reason,
Yeah.
and I just can't take that personally.
Yeah.
And it's hard not
Right.
to. But yeah, so it's just from past experiences, it's hard to move forward sometimes when you have that, when you have, things to look back on. It's like, well, you did this and this happened, and then you did it again and this happened, so if you do it again, it probably will happen again. And I guess, life is about taking chances. And, sometimes you have to keep trying. And, sometimes it takes multiple people, and it takes time, but, it still doesn't make it any easier. Yeah.
No, no, for sure. And I actually have a follow up question for that, to you. Um, have you ever, so are there friendships where you've been on the other side of that? Where you have outgrown that friendship, and maybe they've tried to reach out, but like maybe you think to yourself, I just don't know what else we have to offer each other. You know what I mean? Like, have you had those dynamics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one friend in college, and I still think about it to this day, because
Hmm.
I wish I could go back and do things differently. But
Sure.
I think I might have been like a sophomore in college, which I mean, a few years ago, it's not that long ago, but you're always learning and growing. So yeah, at that point, because of how I felt with these certain friendships of like, you know, it's either you want it's either you want to talk to me, you either want to be my friend or you don't want to be my friend. That's kind of how I felt it. It was like either you care about me or you don't care about me.
Yeah.
Um, and I would remember there was this one guy who I was really good friends with, and we had a lot in common. We're both into filmmaking and Star Wars and music. I mean, it's just like, it's like all the stuff that I'm
Right.
into, and we got along
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
well. But the one thing that I really that just kind of upset me was he would never ask about me. Like I would always say like, "How you doing?" Like
Mm.
what are you up to?
You're always reaching out.
Um, he would reach out. I think we would both reach out to each other, but well, also we were in school, so like we were seeing each other often. Um, but it was more like whenever we were together, the conversation was always about what he's doing, and
Yeah.
you know, never anything about like like he watched Cobra Kai. So I told him about my
Hmm.
Cobra Kai channel, and he had no follow up questions or anything. Um,
He was
and
just trying to one up you all the time too.
I Oh, there was a little bit of that. There was a little bit of that. A little
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah.
I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and you know,
Yeah.
and I remember just feeling like that's like that's like I don't that sucks. I don't want a friend like that. And
Yeah. No, I
um,
get you.
nothing happened. I didn't like say, "Hey, man, we're not friends anymore." But I just we just stopped connecting. And
Yeah.
looking back on it, I do regret that because something that I have learned in the past few years since then is, I was very black and white, like very either you're my friend and you're going to be a great friend to me or you're just not going to be my friend. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and then that's obviously not the way to think about it, and that's something I've learned is that, you could have different like categories of friendships,
Yeah. Yeah. Hundred
like
percent.
like all friendships are different and not all friendships are going to be that deep emotional connection that you're looking for,
Yeah.
um so I have friends that I share things with. I have friends that I just play basketball with, and we don't
Yeah.
we don't we don't we don't say how's it, or we say how's it going, but we don't get into like, yeah, I'm feeling this sort of way. We don't do that, but
Yeah.
we play basketball, and that's what that friendship is. And
Right.
I know that that's what it is. So I don't have any unrealistic expectations of like this is
Yeah.
gonna evolve into, and maybe it will. Who knows? But I don't put pressure. If this doesn't evolve into this deep friendship, I am gonna cut off that relationship. No, it's just like
Yeah.
that'll be a friendship for this. This will be a friendship for that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think for me, like looking back, there were, you know, not that I ever like, flat out said to anybody, I don't want to be your friend anymore. But there would be
Yeah.
times where I would stop reaching out because I felt that way. I didn't feel like it was mutual. And, it might have been a little too quick on my part to cut off the relationship.
Sure.
And so at this point, that's something I've been working on is like, having friends for different things and just
Yeah.
like, yeah, because like and yeah, that's been a game changer for me is knowing, yeah, the different levels of friendship. And and I'm still learning that.
Yeah. No, it's an ever evolving process for sure. To what you're saying, I feel like those standards, um, like of friendships and just like that whole dynamic you want, I feel like that's best reserved, in my opinion. It's best reserved for like your significant other because that's kind of your job as like as like someone, as like a spouse or or whatever, is that's your job to kind of be a little bit of all that, but obviously not too much. I think friends in a relationship are very important. You know, when it's just you, you're hanging around, like you're only hanging around each other, you're gonna get sick of each other at some point. You know,
Mhm.
and it just happens. I don't know why that is, what it is encoded in humans that make us that way, but it's inevitable. You know, if you look at a film production, you know, the longer a lot of these people are around each other, they start, you know, towards the end, they start, you know, getting a little, you know, snarky with each other, and it happens, you know, but then, you know, eventually everything's, you know, settles down, the movie comes out, and it's all's forgiven. But I know I have those friendships too where I've in the past, you know, I'm like, why did the all of a sudden, like, I had this friend from high school, same thing. I thought we were just inseparable, dude. And then he just like stops, you know, he just stops reaching out. And then like a long time would go by, and then he'd reach out and I respond and then get nothing back. And I'm just like, what is going on here? And so, you know, I would reach out a couple times, and then eventually I was just like, you know, whatever, I'm not going to reach out. You know, you had chances to do it. I mean, I guess we're not friends anymore. You know, and I still to this day have no idea why. I just kind of rationalized it or chalked it up to, you know, us growing out of the friendship. You know, and then I think to myself, have there been friendships that I've outgrown? And yeah, there have been quite a bit because I feel like we're just not adding much to each other's lives. Um, I mean, there's a couple friends that I've had in the past, and you know, one I'm kind of, you know, still a little bit on the fence about, just because I'm trying to make room for everything in my life, and I want to make sure that at least the friends are somewhat adding in a good way. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And if I feel like they're not, maybe they have too many habits that I don't like, that maybe I'm trying to break too. Um, I feel like sometimes, and that's when you kind of realize, hey, maybe this friendship's run its course. Maybe I need to, you know, take a step back. If they're improving your life to some degree, then I think it's a good thing. You know, even if it's just like to lend a friendly ear, I think that's a good thing. You know, even if you're not talking about anything, you know, really, I guess, intellectual or of substance. I don't know what term you want to use, but I feel like, you know, people need, the most valuable thing you can give is your time, right? And like if you're giving someone your time that needs it, really really needs it, and they're doing it, I think it's, you know, I think that's a pretty good thing. But also, you know, you got to be careful the ones that have, you know, habits that might bring you down too. So, or if they're just constantly negative all the time, or if they're playing, you know, you know, kind of the pity party, you know, or
Mhm.
hosting a pity party rather. Um, and that's not to say I haven't been guilty of that on many occasions. Of course I have. You know, there's times where I'm pretty sure someone stopped wanting to be friends with me just because of my personality. You know, maybe I'm too self-deprecating, or maybe I'm just too, maybe I joke too much. You know, it's just like working with kids has kind of helped me be a gauge of that, because I know which kids I can tease, you know, in a friendly way, obviously, and I
Mhm.
know which kids I probably have to back off a little bit because they're, you know, maybe quick to anger, they're a little more sensitive, and so I think that helps you navigate adults because they're really just bigger kids, you know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you know, and learning how to recognize those signs. I think you really get that from kids, because kids are pretty upfront with their emotions. You know, they're just, you know, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. Like, Mr. G, you're going bald. You know, like they're just so honest, and that's what I love about them. It's just like I can rely on them to kind of keep me grounded. You know,
Mhm.
um, kind of call me out on, you know, if I said something last week and then I didn't like follow through on the next week, and they're like, oh, but Mr. G, you said,
They're
and I was
smart.
just
Kids are
like,
smart. It becomes kind of tricky because, like, you know, someone could act a certain way, and the way they're acting could be wrong and it could be bad, but then it's
mm-hmm.
like a lot of times then you find out, oh, like their parents are uh in this situation, or their families in this situation, or right now they're
Yeah,
dealing with this, and then it's like hard to,
yeah.
like, what you're doing is still wrong, but I could kind of see like where you're coming from. And it's just
Yeah.
it's a tough situation. And yeah, I think definitely like the way you're brought up has such a big impact. Like, there's this book that I read that I really was into. It was a self-help book called The Four Agreements. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Okay. I've heard the title. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I've heard
Yeah.
someone mention it before. Yeah.
So the first agreement, like it's like agreements to make to yourself. So the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word, which I feel like is such a
Right.
powerful one. It's like what you say has an impact, because words can be just
Right.
as impactful as, um, physical actions. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so like for example, you know, a young kid, like, and this was in the book, like a young kid who loves to sing would sing around the house all the time. And then one day dad comes home from work and he's just super stressed out. He
Yeah.
just had a
Yeah.
long day at work and he's so stressed out. And he says, "Shut up, little Timmy. Like nobody wants to hear you right now, or nobody wants to hear
Yeah.
you."
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the kid having a bad voice. It has nothing to do with the kid. It's just dad is just worked
He's
up.
spent.
He's
Yeah.
spent, and you know, it's a quick moment for dad. It's a quick release. It's kind of like punching the piano, or it's just like a quick
Yeah.
get it out of your system. And dad didn't mean any, like, dad might not have meant that, but little Timmy, who's 5 years old and like who looks up to his parents and is still like learning and
Yeah.
taking in, and he's gonna live the rest of his life afraid to sing
Yeah.
because of that comment that like he's not good, and that just the correlation when he sings, it's like nobody wants to hear you, and he'll think about that.
And that's the thing. And no, even as a teacher, like sometimes, like I mean, so like the last couple weeks, my sister's been having, still been having seizures throughout the night, and so like when you don't get any sleep, like you're just, and those kids are a lot of energy. It's just like you're a little grumpy, and I was a little grumpier this week than usual. Like usually I'm a little more relaxed. I let them talk a little bit, but just this week it felt way more energetic than I wanted. And so like this week I was just a lot more firm with them. I was just like, I'm not in the mood for you guys. Quit like my biggest thing I hate is when they interrupt me. Like when I'm trying to explain something, just like shut up. Like I'm literally trying. And then like 5 seconds later, what are we supposed to do? Like Mr. D, how do we do it? It's just like, well, you weren't listening, so you're on your own. And it's just like I want to say that, but you don't. And so, but just like that thought is, or like sometimes there have been kids, like it's funny, like you use the singing example. There have been some kids that are like been humming or doing stuff, and it's terrible. It's terrible. But it's just like they're not being super disruptive. It's just me, my ear, like when people are off tune, it really bugs me.
By the way, just for everybody out there, Gerry has perfect pitch, and I'm not just saying like that's not like a compliment. Like Gerry knows music so well. He genuinely has perfect pitch. Wait, okay, ready?
Oh God, do you have your piano with you? It's a G.
One more. Boo. Wait, sorry. Boo.
It's an F. You started on the G a little bit.
I know. I realized I was doing the same thing. There you go. So to wrap it all up, because we've been talking about a lot, and we've been sharing our personal experiences, but I feel like it's really important to talk about like what has worked for us.
You gotta understand, working even a little bit at something, you're gonna see results. You're gonna see progress. Like it's going to happen. I've never seen someone practice something and then get worse at it.
Mm-hmm.
They might think that they're like, you'll feel all the time like I feel like I'm getting worse before I'm getting better. That's just because your perspective is changing too. So it's just like you're thinking, like your perspective is growing, as is your skill, but it's just like you expect you're still not reaching the expectations, and so that's why it feels like you're still kind of slipping away or you're plateauing. But also it also depends on how you're practicing something too. There is that side of it. If you just do something willy-nilly, then obviously you're gonna get willy-nilly results. You have to practice or work on something with intent. So like saying stuff like affirmations is good. Like, oh, I'm gonna be less toxic today. Great. You can say that, but if the situation arises in your day where it could potentially become toxic, maybe you're arguing with like a coworker or something, and maybe they're escalating, and you promise yourself, I'm not going to be toxic, but then boom, you go right back into it. Or gossip. Let's say gossip. I'm not going to gossip today because I think that's something that everyone is guilty of, myself especially. Like we love, everyone loves gossip, you know. And then you try to tell yourself, I'm not going to be as gossipy today. Great. And then someone will say something, you know, and then you like perk your ears up, like, and you start listening, like, oh, I got something to add to that, and then you're right back where you started. You know what I mean? So you have to actually implement that in practice, and it's tough.
And it's all about the journey too. You know, as you
Yeah,
said, it's not like a movie montage where just like, oh, you're just always getting better, and then by the end you're perfect. It's like, you know,
yeah,
we we grow, we fail, we learn. We're you know, it's like it's kind of like I'm doing this because it's kind of like we could go like this, we could go like that, then we could go like maybe a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit up, then we could be like a little like this, and then we could be this, you know, and it's tough, but like, you know, I think the goal is, you know, to be like just, you know, just slowly if you can, just going up slow. It doesn't have to be this like big
Yeah,
thing. And you know what? There are times where, you know, it's gonna be woo,
yeah,
but then, and that's okay. That's normal because without that, what's life? Who are we? We don't know who we are without the struggles. Like, you know,
right.
because like if you take out every bad experience that has ever if you take out every bad experience that has ever happened to you, if you take out all the hardships, who are you? How do you know what you could do? You know,
Hmm.
you need those sometimes, and it's hard in the moment. Like when something bad is happening, you know, it's hard to say, "Oh,
Yeah,
this is gonna make me who I am." But you know, but
yeah,
ultimately, like those things, those hardships, something can come out of each one, and sometimes you need to go a little down to go a little up. And
yeah,
also another thing is in terms of like being kind to yourself, I just think that's such an important thing. And when you have that voice in your head, there's a difference between self punishment and a healthy discipline, you
yeah,
know, because if you could if you make a mistake, we all make mistakes, and sometimes we do things. And I think the most important thing when we do something wrong, the first thing is to acknowledge that we did something wrong,
yeah,
you know, because sometimes that's the biggest thing, and sometimes
yeah,
we don't even do that. And you can't, you know, you can't move forward if you don't acknowledge that either you did something wrong, or that maybe you wish you would have done that. You know, just by
yeah,
acknowledging it, that's a big thing. So, you know, you say something, you do something wrong, and you can either, you know, like punish yourself for it over and over, even though it already happened and it's done, and you're sorry, but you feel like you don't deserve to be forgiven because you said that. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done that, and you did. Um,
yeah,
but then the other way of looking at it, like the healthy discipline of it, is, you know, I said something, I felt really bad about it. I shouldn't have said it. I'm going to take accountability, and then
yeah,
I'm going to try in the future to not do that again. And sometimes, look, sometimes we do things multiple times. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah, that's just it's hard to say. It's hard. Sometimes you mess up and then you mess up again and then you mess up again with the same
Hmm.
thing. Sometimes we just do that, you know. Um, but just to be kind on ourselves, and also I think intention is the most important thing. If we're having a conversation, you know, there's nothing that I would ever say to you that would like, I am trying to hurt your feelings right now. I'm trying
Hmm.
to make you feel bad. So if I did say something that did hurt your feelings and you express that to me, you know, I would express to you like, that was never my intention. I'm really sorry. I hear how that came across, you know. But
Sure.
if I am like, you know, talking to somebody and I'm going to say this negative thing about them and make them feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
crap, you
Just
know,
kind of amped up. Yeah,
yeah, then it's like, you know, then it's like, there you go. Like, I mean, I guess that's something there that like, you know, but if there's a positive intention and you make a mistake, you know, we have to learn to be able to forgive ourselves and move forward,
right.
because
Yeah,
every life just keeps moving forward. And if we stay stuck in the past, then it's just hard to move forward. And I know for me, that's something that I struggle with at times is, just like looking forward at certain things. We even when we were talking about the friendships,
Yeah.
like looking forward to new friendships. And when I meet new people, it's hard to not think about the previous friendships and the mistakes I might have made and the things that might have happened. But, that's really the only way we move forward, by
Yeah.
taking what we learned
Yeah.
and, you know, not beating ourselves up for it and using it to grow and to be
Yeah.
better. And, every day is a challenge. We're human. We're going to mess up, except for you. You're perfect. But that's just, yeah, that's just. I appreciate you for just opening up in general and being like so honest about how you're feeling and like the experiences that you've gone through. It is important to share and be open and honest, and obviously there's some things that you keep to yourself or you keep with your loved ones, but it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to go through things, and
Yeah.
everybody goes through it. So yeah, I appreciate you for opening up, sharing, and talking to me about all this stuff. And yeah, do you want to tell
Yeah.
everybody where they can find you on social media and all those fun places?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Gerry Garcia. Look, I can't remember the exact. I think it's official Gerry Garcia. I think that's the handle. And then Instagram is Gerry Garcia official. So
Gerry, as always, man, appreciate you.
boom.
I love.
Yeah, there.
I love that we
I don't know
both
what that
wait,
was.
wait, wait. I
What are we
gotta.
doing? Like,
Oh, ready? 1, 2, 3.
wait,
Oh wait,
are we
what?
using the other hand or?
Oh,
Wait, I'm so.
yeah, because I was like, oh wait, are we high fiving? Oh, I was like,
I don't know what we're doing.
oh, I was like dabbing you up. Wait, wait. Oh,
That's what I thought we were doing, but then you switched hands, and so I'm like, wait, do I switch hands?
because you did. Wait, you did. You're right. Wait, do it. You did that.
Because for me, yeah, yeah,
So that's
it
why.
looks like.
Oh wait. Oh,
Wait a
oh,
minute.
that doesn't make sense. Wait. You go. Wait. You go. You do
Yeah,
other
I
hand.
thought it was supposed to be
You
mirrored.
do
Yeah,
other hand. You do other hand.
yeah, but
Other
other
hand. Other
hand.
hand. Yeah.
But now,
No.
I don't
No.
know.
Here.
You should see my perspective. It looks like because this looks like we're high fiving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if we were to like put them like right in the center of our screen, I don't know what you're
Oh
seeing.
no,
It would look like we're
no,
high fiving.
no.
Yeah.
I'm on your other side.
Oh, it's
So like,
okay. So
wait.
it's
So
flipped.
yeah. So wait.
Gotcha.
So high five there. Other
Yeah,
side.
that's
Other
what.
other side. Other side. No.
See if I.
Yeah. So that to me is a high five. Wait. We go to the other side.
Oh,
Go to
that's
the
so
other.
weird. See, that's a high five for me.
Okay. For me, that's just like we're just like this.
Oh yeah. See, the other way it was. Yeah, it was awkward.
Well, thank you all
All
so much
right.
for watching. Appreciate you all, and remember to always be mindful, always be true to yourself, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Love you guys.